facing the police every single day.
And our dictator Charlotte County Sheriff Bill Prummell is trying to help that out-of-control police state by putting everyone in jail for everything. Florida's dangerous prisons costing us more than money. 2 things you need to know about Florida's prison budget. 1, it was $2.3 billion this year. 2, it was still not enough. Kind of staggering when you think of it that way, huh? We keep spending more and more on housing prisoners, and it's like throwing money in some dried out well. Because, if you hadn't noticed, no one is bragging that this is money well spent. Recent months have brought headlines of widespread violence in juvenile facilities. The Justice Department started a federal civil rights investigation into sexual abuse at a women's prison. Drug-related deaths inside prisons have reached unprecedented levels, and gang-related disturbances broke out in at least 2 correctional facilities this month. And then, just a few days ago, a prisoner at Columbia Correctional Institution was strangled by his cellmate, who then gouged out the man's eyeballs, according to the Miami Herald. As if that wasn't enough, he also cut off one of the man's ears and wore it around his neck. And prison officials never knew about it until he walked into the cafeteria with his new necklace. Anyone ready to talk about criminal justice reform? Because they certainly are in other states. Whether it's doing away with excessive sentencing guidelines, reclassifying certain drug offenses, or getting serious about recidivism, states as diverse as Alaska, Minnesota, and Texas have been passing laws that will reduce prison population. And just so there is no confusion, the goal is not to let dangerous people on the streets. Instead, it's to keep nonviolent people from eating up too much of the state's prison budget. The drugs, the riots, and the assaults are not happening because Florida's prisoners are more violent or incorrigible than in other states. It's because it costs so much to keep up with all of Florida's prisoners that the state can't invest in enough guards and quality control measures to keep prisons running smoothly. You have to have someone willing to stick their neck out and say we need to be on the right side of this issue. State Senator Jeff Brandes, RST Petersburg, recently told the Tampa Bay Times editorial board. It's not partisan, it's just the right thing to do. Legislators who tour prisons and have seen the stuff that I've seen and talked to the inmates and frankly to the guards, start to see the pervasiveness of the problems that are embedded in the system. And the big problem is nobody looks at this stuff, nobody cares. What does all of this mean? Florida needs to lighten up on mandatory minimum sentences that fail to see any nuance or extenuating circumstances, and renders judges impotent. We need to recognize the difference between drug addicts and drug kingpins in charging and sentencing. We need to better utilize electronic monitoring and work release programs, and raise the felony threshold for thefts. We need to realize that having a greater percentage of our residents in prison than 40 other states is not going to win us any awards. More than anything, we need to recognize that throwing someone in a jail cell and ignoring them for 10 years is both costly and unproductive when it comes time for their release. Just this summer, the Florida Department of Corrections found itself with a $79 million shortfall and chose to gut critical substance abuse and mental health treatment programs. That is beyond absurd. Saving money on rehabilitation programs is only going to cost all of us more money in the end. You can see it in the prison budget. You can see it in the federal investigations. You can see it in the violence and riots of recent weeks. This shouldn't be that hard to figure out. John Romano is a Tampa Bay Times columnist. John Romano. Tampa Bay Times. Police use who may want to retaliate against him physically.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I just wanted you to know that I am using this stuff under fair use. And also remember to like and subscribe this channel. Also too, keep in mind I do not make any money on YouTube. This is 5 hours work a day, you know, fighting for freedom. And you can donate with PayPal and Patreon. I just want you to think about this. If everybody gives to PayPal and Patreon, Patreon is every month. Actually, PayPal you can do every month. I have 12,000 subscribers. If everybody gives, I can quit my regular job and go full-time investigations on Charlotte County and possibly even more and beyond. So just keep that in mind. If everybody helps out, I can go full-time doing this. Thanks.